Aquarius moon. That's what I have. This person, right, tries to, they like to think for themselves, right? So, whereas one person will just take things for what they are and everything else, they still, every once in a while, with certain things, certain ideas, they're like, or what's said, they're like, well, I don't know about that. You say this, but does that really mean that? These people, question things, but then they also can question themselves too. Overthinking is a thing with this person too. Um, some things you just ain't supposed to, latch onto, certain, statements that people make. As you gotta remember too that you're somebody as Aquarius moon that can think for themselves, has their own ideas about how, things should be, you know, and it ain't any type of negative thing sometimes, but like the way you might present it, people might get, stupid with you, oh, that's, shit that's unheard of, or that's kind of, whatever, it ain't like that, all the time. This person, gets negative ideas, right? Because I know about that because I have the moon sign, right? I've done things in my past, right? I went to college, I did stuff, but it wasn't for me. I was listening to people, just people, and what their ideas of what a successful life is. And that's just me as the Green Angel. But like this was when I was younger. And then like at some point I come to realize that no, they're all wrong because guess what? I have to do what I need to do. And that's the thing, I ain't saying that I don't need to be around people. I actually need to be around people a lot and I need to communicate with people. And I actually do like communication. But like I also don't need that right now. Um in my situation, and I'm kind of getting on my moon sign shit today because it's Monday, but I'm not trying to do that, y'all, because like you guys are Aquarius moons too. You have an innate ability to know what's going on too, and you do know what's going on, based off of what is said and everything else. Now you shouldn't like read into what's being said everywhere because words are opinions as well. As a smart person, you know what facts and opinions are. You even like to state facts too when you get emotional. Somebody might be, getting you in your feelings. Then you're gonna state facts back at them. You know, what you say might be true, but what I'm seeing with you is da 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 da, and that's true too. Possibly. You ain't not real. You have real ideas about things. Questions about why people. Why the fuck are you doing that? You know, you're kind of curious. That's a good thing to have. Just don't go and do that too much to the point you might lose yourself or cause harm to somebody else, or don't lead anybody else astray with what your you know ideas are. You could have negative thoughts if you like internalize shit. So I'm an introvert, right? With a like I have an introverted sunshine, right? So like when I'm quiet for too long, like I'm just quiet all the time. For like a couple years I was quiet and shit, and I didn't say a fucking word. I had negative thoughts in my head, but these weren't even like my thoughts really. They were. It was basically what I heard other people saying, but then like sticking with me too because of like the type of person I am. But then I realized that I just have to do as, Darius the Green Angel. And then like everything will be better. I'd have a better mood and everything else. And I'll be able to move forward freely and just do what I want to do. And it's all right to, think outside the box and be free. But then remember also, you know, you can't get caught up in your own thoughts either, or your ideas of whatever, because then also that there's other people out here who have, you know are uncomfortable with things like that, or ain't, but that because you're already a smart person, you know and you are, that's no bullshit. I know people who have Aquarius moons too, and it don't mean you're, not allowed to, have fun. Go have fun too. Don't give your brain such a hard time. If you're thinking too much, you probably need to talk to people. And you're like kind of to yourself, and you're like, damn, I'm thinking this way about me, or I'm starting to be a little more negative. Maybe you have to actually talk to people and just get off your ass and talk to people. You know, you might have went into that state of negativity because you really latched onto those words or ideas, and somebody you cared about said something about you, and like you didn't think they would say that, see you that way, or whatever, but then you were like, damn, and you got really depressed. you know just continue to talk to people, you know not necessarily being everybody's friend or anything, but like if you gotta like get something off your chest, get it off your chest, get something off of your mind. You might have questions about something, you can go to somebody and like just bring it up in a conversation, have you know meaningful conversations, because this life is about doing all kind of stuff, and it ain't just about the conversations either. You have an idea of where you want to go in the future, and the type of people you want to be around. Go find those people. They're out there for you, and they are. you know People might think not, but don't listen to them. If somebody don't like you, you get away from them. You find those people who have similar questions, similar ideas, similar interests as you, and then you can like make something happen. And that's what I know. Just be cool around the corner, because you're the coolest. That's what I know. Aquarius moon, that's the coolest moon sign out there, and that's not a lie. So be cool, cooling on the corner.